And right now we have a big story regarding our weather. We have a weather impact alert day. Craig, I know you're in to talk about that. What exactly are we looking at here in Hampton Roads?
So today we have a number of things we're looking at. No one element of what's going on is catastrophic, but when you add them all together, it's going to make for some very impactful weather across the region. That's what we want to key on. So we have issued this weather impact alert. This is for Hampton Roads. It will start later this afternoon, run through tonight and into tomorrow. What are we talking about? Well, we have a very good chance to see at least minor, if not moderate, tidal flooding. We're going to see very wet and windy conditions as well over the next 48 hours or so. You'll want to stay weather aware as we do have these issues to deal with. Now, what is the driving force behind all of this? As we take a look, you can see there is this area of low pressure spinning off the coast. And what we're going to find out there, again, that area of low pressure just kind of drifting off to the north. And as it moves along, it's going to bring these northeast winds in. Those winds will gain strength later today and tonight into tomorrow. We're talking about winds gusting 35 to 40, maybe up to 45 miles per hour right at the ocean front and along the Outer Banks. So it's going to bring in rain. And with that northeast wind, that is also going to push our tide levels higher. Now as I zoom back out, there's the earth. You can see for Hampton Roads, we are very dry right now. We've been operating with a rainfall deficit of 7 and a little bit more than 1/3 of an inch. So we could use some rain. What we're going to get here, potentially a drought buster, if not a drought buster, certainly a denter as far as our rainfall deficit goes. Heaviest rain now still offshore. And as we take a look here, you are going to find the conditions, again, turning wetter and wetter as we go through the late afternoon and into the overnight. So we take a look here. We had some wet weather up on the eastern shore right now. We're looking at scattered showers across Southside Hampton Roads and then widespread rain across northeast North Carolina. You get down around Manio, back down towards Rodanthe, southern parts of the Outer Banks. It's pretty intense, some of that rainfall. Most of it across Hampton Roads has been fairly light so far. All right, we are going to see the winds increasing. We'll talk about that as we go along here. Let's talk about the coastal flood conditions first of all, though. And if we can, let's come back out onto the camera just for a second. Right over my shoulder, Nye, if we can show you this. We have the ocean front. You see the waves here. There's a lot of wind action. Those northeast winds pushing water into the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay. So we do have a coastal flood advisory for the northern neck, the middle peninsula, and then across the south side and parts of the peninsula, including Poquoson, Hampton, Newport News. You come into Isle of Wight, Surrey, Suffolk, Portsmouth, Norfolk, Virginia Beach, and Chesapeake, we have a coastal flood watch. That could become a warning, so you want to stay tuned. As far as the projected tide levels, minor tidal flooding with the high tide tonight around 5 and again 5 a.m. tomorrow, expecting a level around 4.6 feet. What I'm really concerned with, Eugene, is looking at the high tide tomorrow late afternoon. We're looking at a high tide level reaching about 5.4 feet. At 5.5 feet, it becomes minor to moderate. It becomes moderate at 5.5 feet. That's when you start seeing some of the roads in downtown Norfolk. We'll see some of that stuff coming up, not just creating some issues, but when you have the rainfall on top of it, I think there'll be some roads tomorrow later in the day that will be impassable, may need some rerouting through parts of downtown Norfolk. So we've seen that before, and that's going to be the biggest concern. Now, as far as the wind alerts, we have a wind advisory for Virginia Beach and the Outer Banks. Recent gusts up over 30 miles per hour at Norfolk and Virginia Beach, and this is going to have an impact on traffic. So I guess, Eugene, my question to you, do you guys have specific questions for me concerning any of these impacts or what we might be seeing?
Well, Craig, it's interesting that you say that it is that close between minor and moderate. Any projections that it could tilt over into moderate? Is there like a plus or minus when you're looking at something like this?
So we're looking at this right now. The projected height is at 5.4. That threshold, again, 5.5. If the winds are a little bit stronger, we could get more water funneling into the lower part of the bay. And I mentioned that minor to moderate flooding, that's for Sewell's Point, specifically for the downtown area, Norfolk. Places like Lynn Haven Inlet, You think about all the areas there along the Lynn Haven where it opens up right there around the Lessner Bridge and those areas in that are more susceptible to the high water. We expect moderate tidal flooding in those areas already. So I think about some of the areas right there along the river and across northern parts of Virginia Beach, some parts of Great Neck that are impacted by the rise and fall of the Lynn Haven. You're going to be seeing some issues there. So we're going to be watching all of this. And then on top of it, Eugene, the big thing, if we get, let's say, 3 inches of rain or 4 inches, I didn't even get to that. Let me go and pull up some of the rain projections on this. We are looking at the potential for significant amounts of precipitation. That running on top of the water that's up from the tides, that water won't have the runoff that it normally would have. We could really see some backups.
And, anytime we see that, Craig, as you said, Hampton Roads is no stranger to flooding, particularly around those Norfolk areas that you were talking about, too. Some suggestions and reminders for people, if you have the Waze app on your phone, I know the city of Norfolk makes sure that they always send that out to people, that you can, on that app, see where things are flooded across the area, because that's the worst feeling. It's happened to me. I know it's happened to you when you're driving out and you don't have an exit plan because things are flooded. You
can get into trouble. Again, we always stress, turn around, don't drown, don't try to run through flooded water. And remember this too, our local waters here, when you see water up, it's not just fresh water that can get in and create trouble. Obviously, you always are going to be concerned with like a car being swept away. This is not rapidly moving water, so we don't get that. It's not like river flooding where a car gets carried away. This is typically just inundation where it comes up. You worry about the water damaging your engine. You get, the intakes start to get the water in. It does permanent damage. It can lead to other issues within the car as well. But this isn't just fresh water. This is brackish. You've got salt water, and that can be even more corrosive. If we can, Naya, can we go back to our maps here? I'll just give you a feeling for when the greatest threat for some of this flooding will occur. Looking at our futurecast, scattered showers later this afternoon. You'll see some more filling in this evening. You see that showery activity kind of hit and miss. But this is what I really want to key on. Look at this, Eugene. You can see the rain coming in through the overnight. That's early tomorrow. And then as that low makes that pivot, you see more periods of that sustained rain during the day tomorrow. And that's where we could have more of that runoff. So again, high tide tomorrow evening coming up around 6 o'clock. That's going to be a problem. Okay, that in itself, that minor to moderate tidal flooding, then you take a heavy rain from the afternoon on top of it, and now you're really kind of flirting with some significant issues. You look here, here's some good news, okay? This is just in. This is why you watch, right? News, you watch the Impact News 24/7 here. This is brand new modeling data that just came in. So you can see over my shoulder here, the graph model earlier this morning during daybreak was projecting 6 inches. I said that was an outlier. Okay, the updated graph knocked it way back to 2.65. We've been suggesting 2 to 3 inches, so this is very much fallen in line. The Canadian is still showing 4.28, but this will likely come down a little bit as well. So I'm really feeling pretty good about that 2 to 3 inch rainfall total for most. Locally, higher amounts are possible. I also want to let folks know there are gale warnings going up for the bay and the ocean, so obviously you don't want to venture out in any of this. Gusts to 35 knots on the bay, 40 knots on the ocean. And again, temperatures today in the mid-70s. You see that. It is going to be a variably cloudy day. Some showers off and on today, but it's what's coming tonight. Tides running above normal, tidal flooding, windy and rainy, and then tomorrow with more tidal flooding, more wind and rain. After that, though, we've got a good-looking weekend to look forward to. I'll leave you on a high note. Things will be much nicer in time for your weekend, Eugene.
Yeah, you told us that this morning on Daybreak, that if we can just get through the week, things are going to look really good.
The next couple of days, because even Wednesday as the system pulls away, we'll start to see some breaks later in the day. Thursday looks all right, but Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, money. Good stuff.
Love it. I love money. And so just on top of that, Craig, we appreciate you coming in.
You bet.
You mentioned about being around the ocean front in those areas too. Just we want to be careful. We do have red flag warnings that Virginia Beach just put out as well. They said they have red flag conditions for all of the Virginia Beach beaches. So they're calling for people not to swim because of the high surf advisory as well.
You're
looking at it.
Look at the surf here. When you see this kind of foam, I mean, you can see some of the toe going back out. So there are rip currents up and down here. Those waves have been breaking this morning, 5 to 8 feet. It's almost, here's a person, if you can, I don't know if you can see my hand here, just showing you these waves that you're like, okay, they're waves, but when you see a person standing next to you, you realize those are some large waves out there.
Yeah.
And that's a live look from our camera there at Beach Quarters down at the ocean front, not far from the Rudy Inlet down around First Street. So a lot of action out there. Folks need to be careful. Obviously, stay out of the water.
Pretty to look at, but that's just it. Just look at it, because the other thing they want to make sure people know is they have lifeguards, supervisors patrolling the resort beach only. But those stands are not staffed during the weekdays. They'll return on the weekend, weather permitting. So again, just be careful if you are going to venture out in that area, not to get out there to swim. Cape Hatteras National Seashore also putting out the same warnings at least through tomorrow because of those impacts. And they're also asking people to avoid swimming until the conditions in the ocean improve. And for people driving along the beach, beach drivers, you should also take caution if you're going to use any off-road vehicles because of overwash.
I'll mention one more quick thing
Go ahead.
before I jump. With the surf, pounding surf, you do have some potential for additional beach erosion. It's been a huge story. We had some more of that with Aaron coming through. The waves, again, 5 to 8 feet, some locally higher ones coming in. That beach erosion, another day of concern, especially down along the Outer Banks. So we're going to be watching all of that. And, of course, Martin Berglund will be watching this. I think tomorrow morning on 13 News Now Daybreak, starting at 4:30, we're going to have a lot to talk about in terms of the impacts from this coastal low.
As always, Craig, we appreciate you breaking that all down. And please, everyone, kind of be tuned in to what's happening throughout the day here on 13 News Now, but also on Daybreak tomorrow when all of this, you're saying, Craig, is going to really come to its head, particularly during that morning commute. So you're going to want to make sure that you're tuned in and be careful, be safe, heed to all the warnings that people have out there. Craig, we appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, we'll do it again.
Of course, as always.